have the privilege of having a conversation with Wangeshi Kanyeki on the topic of discipline and how we can raise our children in a way of love, correction, and nurturing them with care, the way God wanted and desired for each one of us. So it's just to delve into what discipline means for each one of us who's parenting a child, each one of us who's walking on this parenting journey, because Christ has called us, if you are a parent or you are parenting any other child out there by the grace of God, that there are demands that God wants and requires of you. And that's what we want to delve in today. So Wangeshi, karibu sana. I'm really looking forward to this discussion from the book of Proverbs. Those Grace who has joined, karibu sana. So what we were just saying is Wangeshi ministers and a lot about parenting and marriage. But today I just wanted us to focus on the area of parenting. I've heard her speak, I've witnessed her speak, and maybe Wangeshi, you can tell us why this topic of parenting is so dear to you.
Okay, thank you thank you so much for having me. So my name is Wangeshi. I'm a journalist and a communication specialist. So my day-to-day work is everything that pertains to journalism, but also PR, public relations. And I like to say that I influence society through media and the arts. And my mantra in life is to equip people to live a dignified shalom lifestyle. Equip and influence people to live, or society to live a dignified shalom lifestyle. So I'm married to Willie Kanyeki for the last 23 years. I don't know how we got to 23, but we are 23. And we have 3 uniquely gifted children. We have Mishi, who's 21, Alisa, who's 19, and a girl getting into her teens, Muini, who is 11 years. And why parenting is close to my heart is because I've seen that it unlocks shalom, peace in the house. It brings peace in the home if your children are orderly.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you have disorderly children, it's gonna affect the peace in the home. And also parenting, actually the family unit is very important to me. But parenting in particular is that you're equipping the children and giving them an edge of success, an edge to succeed in life. You have a window of opportunity to train, and the window closes. The window actually closes. So last week I sent my daughter to university. My window is slowly closing. So what are you going to do with the window of training opportunity that you have for your child? And we'll be discussing some of that today.
Wow, thank you so much to bring the shalom peace. I love that word, shalom peace, because it's so interesting. I wouldn't have even imagined that on parenting, that when you parent according to God's will, the shalom peace settles in your home. And that's so beautiful, that the reason we are here to listen to the message of today is that we may experience the shalom peace of God in our own homes with our children. And I am so amazed, and I wanted us to begin with actually the Proverbs that are guiding our conversation. And Wangeshi, allow me to read these Proverbs because I had shared with you earlier, but I just wanted those who are listening to hear the Proverbs that are guiding our conversation, because the theme was parenting with discipline, a biblical perspective. So we are looking at the word of God to guide this conversation. And the first Proverbs that we had was Proverbs 13:24. He who spares his rod hates his son, but he who loves him disciplines him promptly. Proverbs 23:13 and 14. Do not withhold correction from a child, for if you beat him with a rod, he will not die. You shall beat him with a rod and deliver his soul from hell. Proverbs 29:17. Correct your son, and he will give you rest. Yes, he will give delight to your soul. Proverbs 29:15. The rod and rebuke gives wisdom, but a child left to himself brings shame to his mother. And the last proverb is Proverbs 19:17. Correct your son, and he will give you rest. Yes, he will give delight to your soul. So we will type the proverbs that we are discussing on the chat, but you can see these are different proverbs. These are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are 5 different proverbs that are talking about discipline and correction in the word of God. And the first question, Wangeshi, I wanted to ask you is, what does biblical discipline mean? What does discipline mean from a biblical perspective?
Okay, thank you. I would kindly, let me first throw the question back to the audience. If you could kindly put on the chat your child's age, so that I'm a little bit in context, or using examples of your children's age. If you don't have a child, you can put the niece or nephew you're having in mind, because we parent either way.
Yes.
Even to our neighbors' children, or our nieces or nephews. But if you can kindly put the age of your child on the chat, so that I'm able to give examples based on that age group, we'll appreciate. All right. So your question is, what did you ask?
What does discipline mean, or what is discipline from the biblical perspective? The understanding of what discipline is.
Okay. So my understanding for discipline is what God expects of us. And God expects us, what does God expect us to do with our children? The first thing is that he wants us to bring up godly offsprings. That is the first thing. So some of the things you need to do is at least you need to train your child. You need to show love to your child. You need to give them an inheritance of faith, because this is a Christian perspective. You need to give them an inheritance of faith. So you need to pass on your godly heritage.
Yes.
And then you also need to give them wisdom and life skills. And then you need to, so for me, I even look at it more as training. Disciplining only comes in to either correct the training or reinforce, or just to make sure that the training has been implemented, or has been taken up by the child.
Understood,
and that's
yes.
Understood. So it must be manifested in the child. And if you're not seeing it, that's when now you come into discipline. I did not use the word punish. I've used discipline. So you are aligning that child to follow the training that you have set in store for that child. Yeah. So you can put on the chat, what did you hear in terms of training? What is discipline, and why are we doing it? So it's to train the child, it's to give the child a godly inheritance, it's to give them wisdom and life skills. And then now you come into discipline only when those instructions have not been followed. So when we are doing parenting, we mirror the methods that God uses. And I'll be coming to this. So how will you train? How will you follow through? And what are the consequences when an instruction is not followed? Yeah. So if you have a question, you can ask, or I can proceed.
So from what I've understood is that the discipline begins from the place first of training. That if you've not trained, you can then not discipline, because what are you disciplining? You have to have laid maybe a foundation, and then that's when you're coming in with discipline. And that's through training, love, inheritance of our faith, wisdom, and life skills. So I think
That's right.
maybe from people who are listening, how do you begin then the training process? What are you training?
Okay, from the audience, please put what are some of the things you'd like to train. So, and as you're doing that, I'm going to read this verse because it's an anchor for our training, for our discussion today. Proverbs 22:6 says, train a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. So what I have done is, this is from a practical perspective, is every year I set goals for myself, my personal growth, but I also set goals for each child. So for each child, depending on which age they are, so I can see Jacqueline has 18, 12, and 8. Maria has, where is that gone?
4 and 2.
4 and 2. So for each child, based on their age, I set the training goals for that year. So if it's a 2-year-old, I'm probably saying
potty training.
Potty training, or if it's younger than that, I'm probably saying, how do I get this child to sleep through the night? If it's 17 and 17 is how do they manage their social media if they have a phone? 9 months, they're probably poking their fingers into sockets, and then they must follow an instruction. So for each child, outline what life skill am I gonna teach this year? What am I training this year? So a quick run through why we discipline. We discipline because we love the child. If you don't discipline your child, it's actually a lack of love, because you love the child it's tough love. You want to love the child enough so that they succeed in life. The second thing from the Proverbs that Maria has talked about in Proverbs 23:13, it says, discipline the child and save his soul from death. So you discipline to save that child's soul from death. The third one is to impart wisdom and drive out foolishness. Because children will have foolishness. So you really do have to get that wisdom out. Remember, our purpose is to train the child in wisdom. But sometimes their default setting is in foolishness. So how you drive that foolishness out? Even the best babies, they will have foolishness. Number 4, so that the child will give you peace and joy and be a blessing to your community. I want to say, people saying, huyo mtoto wa nani ndio huyo ameingia.
Yeah.
And then fifthly, why we discipline is that child will bring delight to your soul. Again, I'm anchoring this on the verses that Maria has read earlier. Proverbs 29:17, it says he will bring delight to your soul. Discipline and he will give you peace. He will bring delight to your soul. So those are part of the reasons why discipline.
Yes.
I want to move on to how to discipline, because I don't know how you people are disciplined. Can I just hear how you people are disciplined? As guys, the slipper used to be thrown from upstairs and it lands on you. Now, if it lands on a bad place, you're in trouble. Or the mucus, it was close to abuse. What were some of the disciplinary measures you saw in your household? You can unmute your mic. I just want to hear where your family of origin. Remember, your family of origin influences how you parent. If there was excessive punishment, you'll either do the same or you will completely abstain from disciplining so that you don't replicate that image. Let me hear from you. What are some of the ways you were punished or disciplined? Let me hear at least 2 people. The rest can put on the chat.
For me,
yes.
Hi, Joyce.
Hi.
For me, well, it was mostly belts and a few pinching here and there, and also a slipper. I remember there was a slipper.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. The belt.
I know.
And then the belt for us was used on everybody. One person did something wrong, all of you are punished. We left with this sense of injustice.
Yes.
Any other person? How were you disciplined?
For me, Wangeshi, my mom was Jackie Chan and the headmaster combined in one. He had moves, she could fly. Especially, there are some crimes when you committed, she would just land on you. But she would definitely use a slipper. So as we grew up, we also had a cord. When a slipper is sought for, you look for the newest because it was more spongy. If you had a grudge with your sibling, they would look for the oldest because then you remember that thing could come out.
Wow.
But
Okay.
mostly slipper. From my dad, then the belt.
Okay. All right. Anyone else?
I think for me, let me share one of the ways I remember being disciplined was the slippers. It was that butter trademark of when you see that blue slipper, you know that it's about to go down. And it land on you in like 50 different directions. And you wonder, is it me who's beaten or is wrath being unleashed on me? So that's one way I remember being disciplined.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. So I think ours was abused. Tuseme tu ukweli, when I look back at it, if I use those methods, I will have I could create mother wounds on the child. So allow me to go through some 4 steps of how to do biblical-based training, biblical-based discipline. Hold on, I have somebody here, madam. Give you a break. Okay. So the first step you want to do is to train the child. Remember, your overall goal is to bring dignified shalom living into your home. That's my mantra. But basically, you want to bring kingdom principles into your home. Some of the things we hear, how your heavenly, and I'm setting this as the background, some of the heavenly qualities of that we see in the Bible. What are some of the things you read about God's kingdom? What are some of the values or things you see? What are some of the things you hear about heaven?
Faithfulness.
Faithfulness, yes. There's faithfulness. What else would you imagine heaven has? And I have a verse for it. I just don't have it right now. Which these are qualities you can bring to your home.
Maybe someone can unmute and answer.
Can I unmute and answer?
I see on the chat, trust.
Yes, there should be trust in the home. Mm-hmm. Kindness. Yeah, okay, yes. So those are the kind of things you must bear in mind. If you want to see kindness in your home, what are you going to do to get those qualities? I normally say peace, love, what do I say? Peace, love, and joy as kingdom qualities I want to see in the home. So with those goals determine your goal, the atmosphere you want to create in your home. Then secondly, you say, now how am I going to train the children to achieve these goals? So you work with the end in mind. So you decide what is the training skill for each particular child based on their age and development stage. And then you demonstrate, pretty much like what you do in the office place. You show how to eat while seated in one spot. Or maybe is to make your bed for the older ones. This is how you make your bed. I need the bed made every day, every morning. And this is the why. Give the why. The children in this age, you have to give them the why. Otherwise, they'll just look at you like, Allah, why are we doing these things? So give them the big why. and then you demonstrate how it should be done. If it's potty training, you show them how to sit on it. I bought a book for a child just because I couldn't sit on the potty. But that was illustrative. So this is how you sit on you don't put it on your head, you don't eat from it. This is what you use. So that's potty. If it's the bed for the older children, then this is how you make your bed. This is why you make your bed. And then you allow the child to demonstrate while you watch. So you do the activity, the child is watching you. Then the child does as you watch them until you have passed on your skill to the child, and the child is able to repeat the task without supervision, so that it may need several training sessions until the child has mastered the skills. So remember your training age appropriate, so that you're not asking the child to do things that will frustrate them or frustrate that's beyond their age limit. So that's number one. You must train. You must give instruction before you start disciplining or punishing the child. Okay? Yes. So the second step, we are looking at the discipline process. So train the child, tell them the why. Second step is, has the instruction been followed? Just hold on. There's some.
Yes, so even as Wangeshi comes back, oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah, just proceed.
No, I was just emphasizing on the point of training, that whatever age that you remember that the child's age comes with certain skills that they can learn. I can't be training my child on how to make the bed at 2 years old, and they're not even aware of what a bed sheet is to that. So I think that's one of the things I've learned from you, but you can continue.
Okay, so what I've said, the first step is train the child and demonstrate.
Yes.
Then once you've given the instruction, you are looking for that child, you want that child to follow, you're training to follow instructions, obedience. If the child obeys, you can reward obedience. If the child does not obey, this is where you now need to bring in discipline. So first level is training, second level is disobedience. You're looking for disobedience because to reward obedience and align disobedience. So if you've told the child, I need this bed made every day, every morning, and then there is lack of follow through, this is where you choose to discipline. If your child is under 10, you work with the rod because it's going to give you a good basis.
Why under 10? Why under 10 years?
Beyond 10 years, you'll be counterproductive. You'll be damaging your relationship. So you have the first 10 years to train your child with the rod. So you can use the rod as one rod, just one rod to spank the child. Because you did not follow instruction. Remember, you've given the instructions, you've shown why, how, and then the instruction is not followed. You use one rod.
When you mean one rod, what do you mean by one rod?
One chopper. We call it chopper here. You use one spank.
Okay. Why not several, like our parents?
Because really, you're not looking to abuse, you're looking to correct the child.
Okay.
And you saw, if the bed was not made, you call the child and use one spank because the instruction was not followed. If the child still does not follow through, then you go to 2 spanks. You see, you want to have a method so that you don't abuse the child.
Okay.
So that disobedience is second level is if the child has disobeyed, they get one spank. Now you need to decide what your rod is to avoid the miko, because miko has a different function. avoid the belt because a belt has a different function. Just have a stick that you use for the rod.
Oh, okay.
And then you don't use your hand because your hand is supposed to be a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
So here's my rod. You see my rod?
Mm.
This is what I used as a rod. So you don't use your hand because your hand is supposed to bless the child.
Okay. So it's like you actually intentionally invest in a rod rather than using what's randomly available in the house.
Yeah, because you're going to abuse. You're going to take something and throw at the child. So Proverbs 23 tells us, do not withhold discipline for a child. If you punish him with the rod, he will not die.
Wow.
Punish him with the rod and save his soul from death. So that's what you do. So we are following biblical instructions. So why
Yes.
do I use the rod? You're using the rod because that's what the Bible tells us. But what I've told you is that you have a window when you can use the rod. Beyond that, even the teenager might be stronger than you. So
What's the window? What's the window of that discipline?
That discipline of the rod is up till 10 or less. I found even by 8, you find that you may, if you used it well, you may not need to use it. I've not used a rod on my daughter since she was 8.
So for parents who are listening, who are above the age of 10, what you've told us, you've trained them, maybe don't use their phone past 7 p.m. You've told them the why, you've shown them the how, and then now they have maybe disobeyed your instruction. How do you discipline a child who's maybe above the age of 14 to 20 years, for example?
Okay, so for the teenage years, this is a book I would recommend. It's called Parenting with Love and Logic. So the principle of parenting with love and logic for that child who's beyond 10 years is that you use logic. So you reason with the child.
Mm-hmm.
So remember that if you put your rod in place under 10 years, you have an easier time in the teenage years because already the discipline structure is in place. Once you get to the teenage years, then you start saying, all right, so like during COVID when children were grounded and there was just excessive use of television and phone use because they had nowhere to go, is that we say the cutoff time is the cutoff time for using this laptop or whatever gadget is this time. And if you don't follow through, we take it away. And you're saying it nicely. No, not threatening. You're just giving rules. So my daughter, I found her chatting beyond 9 o'clock and said, in this house, we don't send texts beyond 9 o'clock or beyond whatever time. And if I find that, your whole month you're confiscated from using my phone. First of all, it's my phone.
Yes.
So she stretched the boundaries, and for that whole month she was out of, and we are not even fighting. We said the rules, we are sticking to them. Once you do that, it's painful enough for them to follow your instructions.
Wow.
Allow me to go to the third level of discipline.
Yes.
First is training, second is disobedience, the third one is rebellion. If your child, the third time round, they are still disobeying, your child is in rebellion stage. Because you have given an instruction, you have corrected the child, and the child has still repeated the offense. Your child is in rebellion. So at this point, you use 3 spanks.
Wow. Okay.
You use 3 spanks because your child, you need to remember you're doing this so that you drive out foolishness, but you're doing it in a controlled manner so you're not abusing the child. For training, you give the number of rods. If you disobey once, this is 1 rod. If you don't, if I find it's still not done, it's 2. So by the time you're chapping 3 times, you'll use the child already knows the consequences. So you have less resistance.
On that point, Wangeshi, let me ask you, when you're using the rod with the first, second, third, is it the intensity of how you use the rod? sometimes we were trained up that if that rod did not land on you properly, you're not learning the lesson. So is it about the intensity of how you beat, or it's just you've chappered?
It needs to hurt. Otherwise, they'll just take you for a ride.
Okay. Okay.
You use the hand, the palm. You want to use the rod on the palm because it's dignified. Remember what I said. Dignified. Yeah, if you go beating the girls on the behinds, Mara, you've removed the trouser to chapa properly, you find that you have not given that child dignity.
Wow.
So the fourth one is repetition. After rebellion is repetitive disobedience. You now have your fourth rod. I have never needed to get to a fifth rod. Actually, by fourth rod, of all my parenting, I've only gotten to the fourth. Fifth is like really, really, really total disobedience, total rebellion. I have never needed to get to the fifth rod if you do this process correctly. Remember, as you discipline, you must also reward.
Okay.
If the child is following instructions, you need to have your merits, your goodie bag, where you reward the child.
What are methods of like maybe rewarding? How have you ever rewarded?
Rewarding is always connected to my goals for that child. Remember, I have skill goals for that child. I have academic. I have several goals for each child. I have academic goals. I'm big on academics. So I have a life skill goal, which is a talent, talent development. I have spiritual goal, and I have a character goal.
When you set this goal, do you communicate this goal to the child if it's like, let's say, an academic goal or a spiritual goal?
Yes, I do. When they are younger, you really don't have somebody to converse with. But like now, when they're in the adult stage, I actually talk with them. But I prayerfully consider those goals. I put them in place. Some of them you discuss with the child, others you're seeing and you're praying about it, or it's something you need to work on. So you progress as a parent.
Yes.
So that you're not leaving it to chance. Remember, you have a window of parenting opportunity. You want to use your time well. So every year, these are my goals. This is the character I'm working on. The child is sulking, so I need to train on patience. The child whines, or she doesn't greet people in the morning. There's something I want to work on. Yeah, so I'll come back to that.
Okay.
So remember, if you do not train your child, they will grow anyway. But you will not like what you get. So you want to make time to train so that you're happy with your end results. For those who are joining in now, what we said is that God expects parents to, number one, instruct their children. That's Ephesians 6:4, to train their children based on Proverbs 22, train up a child in the way that they should go. God expects you to discipline your child. And the fourth one I want to add, God wants you to have a home that's under control so that you're able to do this for parenting. That means children are raised in submission to the parent.
Yes.
But that your home is also running orderly.
Yes.
You will not be able to parent your home if everything is everywhere. You don't know which meals are being eaten which day. There is just chaos. And it will be chaotic as well. If you have any questions, kindly put them there. I want to go to the practical aspect of something you can take away to be able to implement this training.
Yes.
But please feel free to put your questions in the chat. I hope I can see them. And I'm giving you from my life. This is what has worked.
Yes.
There's something very I've said. You need to make time for training. It's not going to happen by itself. Make training. So I had the benefit of being home for 14 years when the children were in their foundation age, before I went fully into the marketplace. And that has given me a lot of ease in parenting teens, ease in parenting the parenting, what do you call this? Parenting young adults. Imagine, that's the word that's called. Because we had time to build the relationship, and I had adequate time to do my rod training. Remember, rod training ends at some point. You can't use it on adult.
Okay.
Okay, but Maria, please put the post scriptures on the chat. Stella would like to see those scriptures.
As you answer the questions that are there from Tabitha, I see a question from Tabitha.
Tabitha, is that the one on the stepchild?
Yes. Okay. Maneuvering discipline, stepchildren,
maneuvering disciplining stepchildren, teenagers. All right. I really, I let that because where? All right. So disciplining stepchildren and teenagers is a challenge because we now have a lot of blended families where one partner comes with his children, another partner comes with his children, then you have your children. So research has shown that it takes about 7 years for a blended family to settle. 7 years is a long time as you're trying and testing, and this parent is being accepted and this parent is not being accepted. So the parent of the biological parent is the one who will need to do the discipline, who needs to initiate the discipline until the other partner settles in. So if you're a stepmother or stepfather, and these are different, you will need to buy in your respect. Because you're coming into a hostile situation where there's opposition. My mother never used to do it like this. So you have to first counter that. You have to win the child over to your side. It's going to take time. Remember, research has shown that it takes about 7 years for blended families to get a rhythm that is working. So be patient with yourself, win the child over with love, and until you have the right to speak into that child's life. In the meantime, the biological parent is the one to do the parenting. So I would recommend that you still do a parenting course. There are parenting courses offered by churches. There's a parenting course by Mkolwe, Raising Parents. I'm on that book, but this book, Dr. Stanley Mkolwe does parenting courses. You will be able to get guidance for that. If you do, both of you do parenting, you'll be able to have an easier time navigating through the children. Yes. Allow me to get into the tips. I will come back to some of those questions. These are, okay, you're...
Sorry.
Okay. I want to just give some practical tips that will help you get started and create a platform for you to do the parenting. All right, so, and these are communication skills which we use in families. So number one is to remember to speak to build. You want to build your child, not constantly correcting. So if you have a personality like mine who sees the glass half full, you will always be seeing what you need to correct. For each child, you want to build the child. Speak to build the child. Let no unwholesome talk come out of your mouth. Let whatever you're speaking be for purposes of building the other person up. Yes. Be a parent who praises the child constantly. If there is excellence, if there is anything worthy, this Philippians 4:8, speak about these things. They may be few and far apart, but praise. If your child has done something right, praise that child. Now, what you want to do, why are you doing this? You want to have stated at least 12 affirm that child at least 12 times before you need to correct. So that you're building confidence rather than rather than causing a low self-esteem.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
So a minimum of 12 affirmations for each child before you correct.
Wow. Before you
So
correct, or is it discipline?
Before you discipline, because you
Oh.
will need to discipline,
Mm,
but even for your employees, learn to affirm, and by the time you need to correct, that person already knows this person loves me. This is not out of malice. First of all, loved. Okay?
Yes. Yes.
Speak to build.
Yes.
Number 2, respond when spoken to. When your child is speaking to you, do not avoid interrupting your child. Your child could be telling you they have a situation in school and you're interrupting. So just communication skills, pause and respond to your child. Listen to what your child is telling you.
Yes.
Okay? Next is you want to follow through your instructions. Avoid threats. Wewe, nitakupiga sana, but you don't. So if you follow your steps of discipline, with the minute you see disobedience, act on it then. Before the window of opportunity closes. It might become too late if they are an adult.
Yes.
I don't know what number.
Number 4. You're in number 4.
Number 4. This is a very important principle for parenting. It's called the first call response. Your child, if nothing else you take from this lesson, is that they teach your child to follow instruction, because they'll be a better student in school, a better employee. They'll follow government instructions. If nothing else, teach your child to follow instructions. And they must do it at the first call. If a child responds to your call after the 3rd time, they have actually not followed the instructions. I want you to imagine if a car is passing the road and you call your child, Kamau or Odhiambo, your child must be able to respond immediately. They must be tuned to hear an instruction from a father and respond immediately, because it will save their lives. Delayed obedience is disobedience. Partial obedience is disobedience. Incidentally, how we respond to our parents, the same way we respond to God. God has asked you to go somewhere, you're dilly-dally.
Yes.
All right?
Okay.
Now, rule number 5, set aside time to speak.
How so?
This means, as our lives are getting busier and busier, set your dinner time. Dinner time, everybody sits at the table. You set rhythms. Sit at the table and we eat together. Now, why this is important, as your child gets into teenage, they'll want to stay in their rooms. They are getting independent skills and will not want to join the table. But yet this is the place where you check body language, you're checking behavior change. Is a child withdrawn? Is a child depressed? Because of phone gadgets, you find they don't know how to interpersonal skills. They don't know how to talk to people because they just budgets. So at the dinner table, you're training interpersonal skills, manners, and you're checking in on each child.
Yes.
The next one was what?
Number 6.
Rule number 6 is create an instruction time. Now, this has been the most life-changing time tip, my parenting tip. Instruction time is what you have as a priority meeting. For example, where we work at Brands Park every Monday, we have a Monday, you say, how are you? I'm fine. Okay, this week, what are we doing? Instruction time will help you stop repeating yourself over and over again. So at instruction time, what that looks like is that this week, you need to clean your room. All closets must be organized, this and that. I give my instruction once a week because children are older. For the older one who's gone to university, I can give monthly instructions, and then I check how she will achieve those goals, meaning she has to do time management. If children are younger, 4 and below, you have to do this daily. Today we are brushing our teeth. And it prevents you from micromanaging and constantly having to repeat yourself.
So when you say instruction time, is it like you say maybe from 8 to 8:15 is when I'm giving my instruction time, or you
I'll
talk
usually
about
do my
it?
instruction time during family devotions.
Oh,
So yeah, so I have devotions, and then we'll have instruction time. Now we are trying to build a good work ethic. You're training to a child to set goals and follow through.
yes.
So as the child grows older, younger children, you're doing daily instructions. You brush your teeth in the morning, brush your teeth in the evening, you sit at the table, you don't eat walking around, those kind of things. As the child grows in the teenage, you're doing almost weekly instructions. As the child gets into emerging adults, I'm giving monthly instructions. So that they set goals and work backwards on how to achieve those goals.
Wow.
Dinner time, I've talked about dinner together and a family altar. Don't make it complex. You just find time to read the Bible, read a verse together, each person explains what they had, and pray and close. You can have a longer devotion time, but just start with that. Remember, you're trying to bring in the Bible so that they'll know that the Bible gives you instructions.
Yes.
There are times we've done the Proverbs challenge where you read a proverb a day. There are 31 Proverbs in
31
the Bible.
chapters, yes. That's what Proverbs a day.
So it's a chapter a day. And then in the car, we read, like now we're reading through the New Testament, we read in the car a chapter in the morning, because sometimes I don't have time. I mean, you know how life it is.
Yes.
So in the car, we read the Bible and do one song, and they get to be the DJ selecting the song, so it's fun. If you bring ICT for teenagers, you're gonna get your family time not to be a boring time. And when they explain the verse, you're teaching public speaking skills, how to explain your thoughts. So, yeah. Okay. Now,
yes.
I want to ask the last one, which is, you remember the goals. You must set goals for your home. What do I want my home to have? So because I'm a very serious human being, I have to put fun as a goal. I mean, I don't naturally gravitate to fun activities. I'd rather sit somewhere and read a book. So, but you see, that doesn't work for my children. So I put fun as a goal. Now, how do we do this? We set Friday as a fun day. We play games. This is not your instruction time. This is just fun time. You can watch a movie and then discuss it after. Just fun. We do fun food, lasagna, we'll make pizza, we want to express affection using play.
Yes.
Remember, your child spells love as time, T-I-M-E, or play.
Wow.
Your child spells love as time or play. When a dad is rolling with the son on the carpet, that's a lot of expression of love. For teenage children, we intentionally provide social experiences, whether it's a picnic out or we go bowling. So budget for that, so that your family is the coolest family to be in.
Yes.
And then you want to be your child's cheerleader. If your child is winning an award in school, you want to be there. Or have like in the last month, my daughter was doing a business pitch in a kidspreneur something. I went there just to cheer her up and give her the confidence, and it really made us close. Yeah. So what I want to say is practice makes perfect.
Yes.
Just keep working on it. Set your goals, and with God's guidance, He will help you achieve some of those goals, and make parenting enjoyable. My closing statement is that you need to also work on your marriage. If you're in a marriage setting, or maybe you're a single parent, if you have a marriage, you need to stabilize that. If there's threat to the marriage, look for workshops or whatever that will help stabilize the marriage, because it's difficult. An unstable marriage will affect the children.
Wow.
So prioritize the marriage, because the children leave. Like now, they're all exiting my house. Yeah. One university, the other one is in A level, leaving. Soon they won't be here. We'll be left with Mr. Kanyeki. I don't know what we'll be telling each other if we have not been friends.
Yes. Wow.
So work on your marriage, stabilize it, prioritize your spouse, so that it creates the backdrop for effective parenting. Okay, so I want to, and we have courses for that, but we have Ndoa, we have Leah, we have couples and money. If money is a pain point, but your church should be able to give you something for supporting marriages, or look for it.
Yes.
Do we have any questions? I want to end there.
Thank you so much, Wangeshi. Yes. Are there any questions that we have? We can just type them on the chat, or you can just unmute and even ask your questions, because there was so much to learn.
Someone had asked.
Pardon, Maxwell?
Someone had asked for the title. Please repeat the title of Mukolo's book.
So Mkolo's book is called Raising Future Parents. I'm featuring on the cover. But this is parenting skills, especially for under 10s. But it really gives you a good background that will give you easier time with teenage years. He also has a teenage parenting tips for teenagers. You can check his page. He will, to know when he does that class. It's a very important class, because the teenage has slightly different parenting tips. This book, Love and Logic, is what you use in your teenage years. It's called Parenting with Love and Logic by Foster Klein and Jim Fay, because then you learn how to stop arguing with your teenager and just place consequences for your child in the event that an instruction is not followed, without changing the atmosphere in the home, while maintaining the friendship.
Wow.
Okay. Do we have any other question?
Do you have any other question?
The person with the stepchildren when is the best time to start discipline? Oh my gosh, that is such a good question.
Yes.
I should have said that, but as you get older, you forget the earlier years parenting. You start immediately. Discipline is started immediately, and this is in the format of sleep training your child. So
weaning
is another opportunity to train.
Yes.
But the first training comes when you're trying to adjust the child's schedule to sleep at the appropriate time. And that takes about, the first 3 months are important to get your child onto a schedule so that they sleep longer in the night. And I think by month 3, my daughter was sleeping through the night, except for one feed, except for the feed that's required for that child to grow well. But I really followed the instructions. Number 2, number 3, we just let it go by, and there were consequences to that. So sleep training is the first one. Or is the child biting when breastfeeding? That's another opportunity to breastfeed. Another opportunity to train the child. Yeah. Any other question?
Tabitha has a question. My question is how to handle when the kids report to you their birth mom when you disagree or something and always choose to overacting rather than listening to you.
My question is how to handle when the kids report you to their birth mom when you disagree on something and always chooses to overact rather than listening to you. So, Tabitha, thank you for that. Again, these are the challenge of a blended family. The child is projecting something. If your child is choosing to overact, they are projecting something, and most likely it's they're either resisting or because of the blended situation, there is resistance. That is normal behavior. But the child is projecting a dissonance. Shall I call it a dissonance? A dissonance is, I expect my father and mother to be together, or it's mom who reacts. Mom will react. Okay. You want to explain that? Just unmute your mic.
Hello.
Hi.
I hope I'm clear. Noisy background. Yeah. So my question was, the mom is, so if the girl is older, the boy is the one who's 13. So the boy is rather very chilled out. So sometimes when the girl does what you're describing earlier on her phone for too long, and actually her mom stays in the US and bought her iPhone, bought them iPads, all these gadgets, I think, trying to maybe win over some attention or something. But now when she's out of line, for example, the late night, her lights are on. When you check, she's on her phone. She's giggling. When you try and ask her what she's doing, she can't tell. And the dad would sometimes react and beat her. And the mom would call, quarreling and saying that we are abusing the daughter, or it's just weird stuff. Maybe she's in boarding school, so on the day of reporting to school, she gets late, prepares herself too long, gets to school past the acceptable time, so they're sent back home to come with a parent. And when you confront and ask her why, what happened? I released you on time. Where did you delay? All that confrontation, and just because I don't get to beat them up or anything. For me, it's just words. We talk, and then I let their dad do the thing. If at all it will call for that. So the mom will call me and start quarreling and reacting. Why did you confront her? You must be the one who didn't release her in good time. Such. That's what I'm asking. How to handle that situation where they don't, when there's issues or indiscipline, they run to their mother. The mom, who doesn't even want to hear our side of the story, takes her story and runs with that narrative.
Okay. So thanks for that. That's a common situation. But what I'm hearing is that when the mom is compensating with gadgets or goodies for their absence, there is a situation where the absent parent may compensate with excessive gifts. Remember, if they're in a different setting from Kenya, for example, they do not use the road. In certain countries, the road is not used. So it may feel, I don't know how old this child is, but it may feel like it's abuse. Now, as a stepmom, you may not be able to use the road on these children, especially if they are. So you have to give yourself time for that child to win. You have to give yourself time to earn, for that child to, you have to earn the right to be heard. You have to earn the right to be heard, and you'll need wisdom to do that. Is to, so that the child sees that you are actually on their side. You're there for their good, so that you stop looking like the enemy. One of the programs that is very helpful to align this is something you call ropes. When a child goes through ropes, by the time they are done, they realize, Allah, this parent is on my side. And it makes your teenage years a little easier. So instructions were not followed. There were consequences. Again, I will just go back to love and logic. So yes, let me use an example in university because in the interest of time. So the university students in public schools, we were discussing yesterday with some parents. So they said, when you don't get the report card, because a lot of them go 4 years and they've not been to class, if you haven't gotten the report card for that term, you stop the stipend.
Wow.
As simple as that. Already you will cooperate. So Tabitha, you need you need a little more support in that journey, but love and logic. I love you so much. I've sent you to school. But if you don't give me a report card every month, I stop the stipend. And they want the stipend, so they will conform.
Wow.
Over to you now, yeah?
Thank you so much, Wangeshi, for that hour of discussion on parenting. I have learned so much, especially on the issues of the communication skills and tips you've given us. Speak to build, respond when spoken, that is pause when the child is talking to you, follow through with your discipline, especially when you have laid out the instruction and they're disobeying. Your first call of response, let your children learn to follow instructions. Set aside a time to speak, that's dinner time. So many times I realize I don't eat dinner with my children, and I have learned the importance of that. It means I can be able to check on their body language, interpersonal skills, create an instruction time for your children. And I think the last one that I really loved is incorporate fun into your parenting, that it's not so stiff and it's not all about instruction, discipline, but so much more about showing love, and that children hear love with time and play. How they experience love, or the expression of love to our children, is through time and play. So every time I ask myself, does this child love me? I ask myself, have I spent time with them, and am I playing with them? Thank you so much for the nuggets of wisdom that you have shared. I even feel like we need to do a part 2. There's so much. I know you have so much, and there are many questions that many of the people who are listening have, and I'm sure the next time when I call you and we have a session, you are going to come and we'll discuss further. Yes, I see Tabitha is saying yes, part 2. Thank you so much. As we started this the session earlier on, it was from Proverbs. There were so many Proverbs, but Proverbs 29 says, correct your son and he will give you rest. Yes, he will delight your soul. Wow. We must create an atmosphere of shalom, dignified shalom peace into our homes. Thank you, Wangeshi.